Welcome to the U.S. KISS Vinyl Reference YouTube channel. Please like and follow us on Facebook, Instagram, and YouTube. Alright folks, welcome back to another episode of the U.S. KISS Vinyl Reference. Almost stumbled over my own damn page name. I am your host, Mike Stone, and if you've been following along, you know about where we are in the catalog. And today I'm going to kind of give you a 2-for-1 special. So we're going to tack on another album that wasn't originally released in the U.S. and then it got a U.S. release with a box set. And the album we're going to talk about, the main body of the album, we'll talk about after that. So we're going to start off with the Killers album. And then the main focus of this episode is going to be Creatures of the Night. My absolute favorite Kiss album. So, reason why I tacked Killers on to Creatures was I feel that Killers was kind of, it needed to happen for Creatures to happen. So, I mean, without getting too deep and philosophical, oh yeah, that was a big one. Basically, the Elder, Killers, and Creatures is all kind of one. I mean, you can't really have one without the other. So, you know, they started working on some heavier material, and then this concept idea came up, and they ran with it for the Elder. It bombed. They never even bothered touring the States or really anywhere. I mean, just aside from a couple of TV shows for the Elder. And they regrouped and started working on the heavier material that they were working on before. So, I mean, in a nutshell, that's how it goes. Let's see. Killers was released worldwide, but not in the U.S. originally. I got a couple of worldwide records I'll show. I don't have much. And then we'll talk about the main focus, which is Creatures of the Night. I've got plenty of U.S. copies of the LP and the 45, so we'll get you all comfy like, and I'll see you here in a minute. Alright, welcome back. So, we're going to talk about Killers and Creatures today. Killers was released in June of 1982 around the world, except for the U.S. I was just a wee lad at the time, so I don't know if there was much buzz here in the U.S. about a new import release coming out. But it's basically a best of, but it does feature 4 new tracks. Ugh. Come on, Mike, learn how to talk. I'm a Legend Tonight, Down on Your Knees, Nowhere to Run, and Partners in Crime. And a couple of these songs they were working on before the Elder, and then along with some other stuff, and then the idea for this concept album came in, and they kind of took a little side road and did the Elder album. It bombed. They didn't tour. Then they decided, well, maybe we ought to go back to some of the stuff we was fleshing out before. And, you know, just coming off a tour a couple of years ago in England with the this little band named Iron Maiden. Creatures sounds kind of almost British metal-y. So, and I believe that's probably why it's my favorite album, because my wheelhouse is kind of that new wave of British heavy metal era, you know, Saxon, Motorhead, Diamond Head, Iron Maiden, early Def Leppard, stuff like that. And then like your punk and early thrash, and then even the early black metal like Venom and Merciful Fate and stuff like that. So Kiss was sounding kind of British on Creatures of the Night, and I do believe that's why I like it so much. So, let's start with Killers. When I got back into collecting vinyl, I wanted a copy of Killers because, you know, it wasn't released in the US, but it was an official release. So I got a UK copy, and I would say it's probably, it was just probably the first one that I came across. So that's why I have UK. Had I known how releases were going to pan out, I might have went with Germany, but we'll talk about that here in a little bit. So, released in June of '82. I've probably said that a couple of times, but so here is the UK copy. Nothing real special about UK. It has that catalog number. That's how you know it's a UK instead of, was it like 6032 and then some other stuff. Another notable thing about this, and once I found out existed, I actually sought this one out, is it's got a gold promo stamp on the jacket. And that is the only promotional mark on this record. For UK, I believe I've seen promos like this from like Unmasked to Animalize, maybe. I'm sure other folks know a little better. This copy came to me with this inner sleeve here, and I have seen other copies that have a similar inner sleeve with that home taping is killing music badge up there. So I believe this to be original, but I could be wrong. And yeah, it's just a company sleeve. It's not like specific to this release or Kiss in general. There were different track listings from around the world. Depending on what country you got yours from, it had different songs. So this one goes up to Dynasty. There's a couple of issues that have a couple of songs from Unmasked, and then I'm pretty sure the Japanese issue even has Escape from the Island from the Elder. Well, in Japan, Escape from the Island wasn't on the Elder, so it was on Killers. But anyway. Later on, when we talk about the KISSTERIA issue, that track listing thing will come back around. So, another notable thing on UK copies, Down on Your Knees is actually Down on My Knees. Every UK copy I've seen has been like that. So, and of course, we've got the original Kiss logo, which you get into like Germany and some of the Netherlands copies, they have the censored logo. And then the label is just a Filmworks label. I call it a UK Filmworks label because it was made in the UK. I'm sure it's on there somewhere. Yeah, original sound, blah, blah, blah. No? It doesn't say anything about UK on the label, but Doesn't say it was printed in UK on the jacket either. So, but I do know this is from from the UK. So I don't know how I know, but I know. That's about the only way I can explain it. But I'll also point out that there was no promotional text on the label, and that's just how this came as a promotional copy. So, you know, some people will say, well, with just the gold stamp there, it's not a promo. Well, this is the only way promos came, so it's a promo. And that will be touched on later in this episode and a couple of episodes in the future. So I know certain database websites do not consider these promos, and those database sites are wrong. I don't care what they say, so it is what it is. And then my next copy is the same as I showed you before. It just does not have the promotional stamp on the back up here. Same label, same jacket, same inner sleeve, same KISS logo. So it's the gold stamp is enough of a variation for me to pick up. So once I found out that there was actually a gold stamp jacket, I sought that one out. But this is actually my first copy of Killers that I bought right here, the stock copy. And that's all I have for the original release. And now we skip ahead to 2014 with the KISSTERIA box set, and it had some vinyl that was exclusive to the box, and then some that was you could just find anywhere. And I don't know why I'm having such a trouble finding words, but this was exclusive to the box, so meaning you could not buy this in stores. Now some people's going to say, well, I bought mine on eBay, or I bought mine in the Facebook group. No, it came in a box set. You might have bought it from an individual that stripped their box set out, but you didn't buy this issue at retail. Couple of notable things here. You'll notice there's a Casablanca logo up on the corner of the jacket. So the Japanese one had that. So this jacket is modeled after the Japanese copy. Also, the track listing combines all of the worldwide track listings. So you've got every song that was available on Killers around the world in this one LP here. It came with just a plain white sleeve that was polylined. And for the first time, it is on a US Filmworks label. And the layout on the label is kind of modeled after the Japanese copy. So there is your first issue of Killers in the US, like almost 30 years after it was released. So, and this was one of the last KISS releases that I bought when I was originally gathering up the music on CD. I was well aware of eBay. Usually I would just buy records off of eBay, and then I would actually like physically buy CDs in the store, and it just took me that long to find the CD. So these 4 tracks here, I mean, I'm familiar with them now, but they are like the the newest tracks to me. And as far as resale goes, these KISSTERIA exclusives hold their value pretty good. I mean, on the secondary market, this runs about $150 to $200. In the beginning, when people were still buying the set brand new, the KISSTERIA set, some of them would strip the set out and sell it off piece by piece, and you could about pay for 2 sets with what you got out of it. But some of those exclusives were quite pricey. So, on a couple of years later, in it was like 2020 or something like that. I forget what year. I'm pretty sure I can find out. I'm kind of crappy with dates, but I want to say it was 2019 or 2020. A friend of mine over in Germany was helping out Universal over there with some new releases, and they came up with this reissue for Killers. Notice it's got that Mylar finish on the front and on the back, kind of like the Elder that I showed on the last episode. Also numbered like the Elder that I showed. And this one is gatefold with the lyrics inside. I don't believe any original copies of Killers was a gatefold. Plain black inner sleeves that are poly-lined. Those poly-lined sleeves are kind of a nice touch, even though I rarely keep them. Keep the records in them. I keep the sleeves, of course. I'm kind of a completist like that. And it came with a few inserts. First things first, there's the hype sticker. It's stating that it's a half-speed master, meaning it's on 2 LPs. We'll start off with this little mirrored sticker with the German Kiss logo on it. And then we have a little fold-out poster-like booklet. So these inserts are modeled after the Japanese issue, whereas like the logo and all that is modeled after the German issue. So got a nice little hybrid there. And it's a really well put together set, I think. The few German reissues that I do have were all well made. Let's see, we had double platinum, best of solos, the Elder, and Killers here. So Universal Germany has found the right guy when it comes to helping them put together some of these reissues for them. And then the vinyl is on a translucent-ish pink vinyl. You can kind of see my thumb there wiggling behind it. So on the one side we have the custom Killers label. Then when you flip it over, there's a black and silver Filmworks label. Boy, I'm having all kinds of trouble with these disc keepers today. I just washed my hands a couple of minutes before I started filming, so they're a little hard to get a hold of. And then the other record has that same Custom Killers label, but the Filmworks label is the opposite of the LP1. So as I've said, it's a really well put together set. It sounds great, and I think the track listing is missing like one song from the 2014. I want to say it's like Talk to Me or something like that. So I could live without one song. I mean, and then while I'm putting this away, some of these were bundled together with a 7-inch 45. I want to say it was Down on Your Knees. I'm not super familiar with foreign singles, and when I say foreign, I mean non-US, because, you know, I live in the US. But I did not get the bundle because I'm not even sure I was collecting 45s by the time this was released. I went from literally no interest in 45s to being a 45 collector overnight. So I might not have cared about 45s, but yeah, that German Killers is well worth it if you can pick it up. So now we're done with Killers, and we're going to move on to the Creatures of the Night album. And before I start looking at records, so if you're watching this page, chances are you kind of keep up with current releases, and you have seen the announcement from last week. What do I think about this whole vinyl box set thing? I mean, it's a great looking set. That price, though, that is an insult to me. Before I go off on a tangent here, I want to be clear that I'm not going to dissuade anybody from buying it, and I will not ridicule anyone that wants it. I mean, if you want it bad enough and you're willing to pay the price to get it, God bless you. Go get it. But for me, it is overpriced as hell. And I have a few examples that I'll show here. So, you know, first off, we've got the Guns N' Roses Use Your Illusion box set. 12 LPs, all the material you could possibly want from that period, under $500. Next up, we've got the Judas Priest 50-year box set. Granted, this one ain't vinyl, but the content. I mean, you've got their entire discography and then a bunch of unreleased live shows. A total of 42 CDs. How many vinyl records you think that's going to be? But it's under $500 for that much. And Universal is trying to offer us not even a quarter of that content that the Priest set offers for double the damn price. I mean, you know, they've got their head firmly up their ass on this release. And it's Universal more than Kiss. I mean, I think this is some kind of way that Universal's kind of telling Kiss to piss off, but, you know, I'm not going to contribute to them overpricing shit just because they can. I mean, if, and there have been many discussions in the Facebook group about it, and some people have brought up, well, if it doesn't sell, then probably won't get any more box sets. Well, I would rather have no box sets than to have box sets available that price me out. I mean, it does me no good if they release shit that I can't buy. So I'd rather have none than to play their game and pay their stupid pricing that they're coming out with. So that's my little rant on it. As I said before, if you bought the set, my man, enjoy the hell out of it, but I will not pay the prices that they are wanting. They're going to have to discount them greatly. I mean, you're looking, there's two different box sets. You've got a glow in the dark vinyl box set and a black vinyl box set. I mean, you're looking, that's a $300 box set. And they're trying to get $1,500 out of you for both of them. So, you know what? They can keep them as far as I care. So, that's my rant on the Creatures box set. And from what I understand, everything is going to be the same as the CD box set that we got a couple of years ago. So all of the stuff that's inside it, the tour book, the press kit, the buttons and patches and the t-shirt transfer and all of that's going to be the same. Pretty much the only difference is we're probably going to get a different catalog number with the vinyl box set, and I imagine the box is going to be a little bit wider. So it's for the first time since 2014, I'm skipping out on a release, because it's an insult to me, and I refuse to play their game. So if somebody from Universal's watching this, I mean everything I said, and I'll stand behind everything I said. The pricing is ridiculous. So, and apparently there's supposedly a Destroyer set coming. So, be prepared for 2 overpriced box sets. But we're not here to talk about Destroyer, and we're not here to let Mike rant too much, so now we go on to the Creatures. So, is released in October of '82, and many people would not know until they started showing up at concerts that Ace Frehley's not in a band anymore, even though he's right there. So, that was a contractual thing, with Polygram. Had to have 3 original members, so they had to make it look like Ace was in KISS. But so, promo copies. I touched on this with Killers. So we have a gold stamp here on the back of the jacket. I'm also going to point out that we are in the era of printing plant numbers on the jacket and pressing plant numbers on the label. So you will not see this until I drop the image in. But right there next to that Polygram logo, there is a purple 206. So there's a printing plant number on the jacket. We have a lyric inner sleeve. It's a matte finish. And notice that the logo and the title are blue. So that's going to come into play a little bit later. And then for the vinyl, we have a custom Creatures label. Notice that there is no text on there at all about it being a promotional copy. And if you look over to the left underneath where it says Side 1 Stereo, you'll see a number 26. So there's a pressing plant number. And then another neat little thing about the promo, my promo anyway, and a couple other people's, is light passes through it. See my flashlight back there behind it. It's kind of got a purple glow to it. Not all promos will have that. It took me 4 or 5 tries, I think, to finally get one that lets light pass through. So that it's just a nice little added bonus for me. And you know, I touched on how some people will say, well, it doesn't have a promo label, so it's not a promo. Well, this is a promo because this is how Creatures was handed out as a promotional copy. It has a gold stamp right there. There's no such thing as a Creatures from the U.S. with a promo label, so this is how the promo existed. It is a promo. I don't care what Discog says. Alright, moving on to a stock copy. Now, this stock copy is a dead match for the promo, except it does not have the promo stamp. It has that same purple 206 there on the next to the Polygram Records logo. That's real faint. It has the same inner sleeve with the blue text at the top. And it has the same Custom Creatures logo. And again, if you look over there where it says side 1 and stereo, you see that number 26 underneath it. So there's your pressing plant number. Light does not pass through this one. So that's what I was talking about earlier with the promos. This record could have easily came in a promo jacket. As I said, this variation here is an exact match to the promo. It just doesn't have a promo stamp. That's the only difference. So alright. And then the next stock copy variation and as I've said in a couple of the other episodes, don't get too hung up on the combination of printing plant numbers on the jacket and pressing plant numbers on the labels. Those have been pretty interchangeable from what I've seen. So this one has a white 501 up at the top of the jacket. My camera won't focus on for some damn reason. There we go. And it's got the same inner sleeve. I ain't gonna worry about pulling it out. It has the same Custom Creatures label, but now if you look over on the left hand side above where it says manufactured, you see a number 53. So there's a different pressing plant for Creatures. And these would have all been pressed in the same plant at the same time, or at different plants at the same time, most likely for distribution purposes, because I have 3 different label variations for creatures. You got one that was pressed on the West Coast, one that was pressed in the middle of the country, and one that was pressed on the East Coast. I mean, it just makes sense for distribution. Some people will try to say, well, this one's first or whatever. No, that all the same time. Alright, next variation I have. This jacket has at the bottom a red 0704 by the Polygram logo, which I'll fly in because there it goes. And then it's got the same inner sleeve. I'm not going to worry about yanking it out of there. And now, if you look off to the left of the label, up above where it says manufactured, you see a number 72. So there's a 3rd pressing plant. Now those are the only 3 pressing plants I could find on the original Creatures label. And like I said, you had one on each coast and one in the middle, so I'm totally convinced that this was for distribution purposes. Just to get it anywhere in the country fast instead of having to ship them all out from one place. So that was my 3 stock copies for the first issue. And now Creatures is the end of an era in several ways. And in one of the ways, you hear me harping in all these episodes about this Filmworks 2 series. You know, the Polygram reissue that's got the plant number on the back of the jacket and the UPC sticker and then the Filmworks label. Well, Creatures is the last one in that series. So after this episode, that series is gone. So here is the Filmworks 2 Creatures. So right off the bat, there's that purple 501. Come on, lock in on it. Well, I'll just throw an image up there. And then I always say it's that plant number and or a UPC sticker. Well, this one has a UPC sticker stuck to the jacket. So there's 2 check marks. We got a plain inner Filmworks inner sleeve. And then, didn't mean to take that back out. We've got the Filmworks label. So now, look off to the right hand side and note that NBLP 7270 number. That will come into play later. But yeah, you notice at the bottom, and you might have noticed I haven't said a thing about Sunset Boulevard addresses because those stopped with the Elder. It's all been Polygram addresses after that. So now the timeline that I put on the Filmworks 2 series is from 1983 to 1984, and the reason why we put it there is because of Creatures of the Night. So Creatures was released in October of '82, and it did not sell well. So You know, it's not like there was repress after repress after repress on that first issue label. And then, you know, there's another Creatures reissue starting in 1985 with a non-makeup cover. So that leaves you a 2-year gap there, 83 to 84. And that's how that timeline comes to be. So, but yeah, we always look for the plant number, which Creatures, the plant number's a thing anyway. So just because you see a 501 on a Creatures doesn't mean it should have a Filmworks label. UPC sticker kind of helps a little bit. So like if you're looking at an auction and you see a jacket with the UPC sticker, there's probably a Filmworks label in it, but at this transitional period, I've seen this jacket with a UPC sticker come with a Filmworks label, a custom first issue label, and a Mercury label from the non-makeup period. So it's a crapshoot. So I've actually opened a sealed copy, and it resides with a friend of mine in Illinois right now. But it was sealed, and it had that UPC sticker. And I was wanting a copy with the Filmworks label. So I was excited when it finally got here, because I bought it from, there's a guy in Mexico or something like that. So it took forever to get here. And I opened it up and it had a damn Mercury label in it. I was a bit disappointed, to say the least. So, and then, you know, the Creatures album with the Filmworks 2 is hard enough to find on its own. There's a damn variation of it. So this jacket, you know, there's no 501 in that corner like I showed on the last one. But you get down there by the UPC sticker, and I'll throw the image up. There's that purple 206 again. But, I mean, other than that, we've got the same inner sleeve and the same Filmworks label. So it's just a jacket variation. So there was our 1983, 1984 reissues on the Filmworks 2 label. And now we get to the non-makeup cover. So we got another guitar player in the band that had nothing to do with Creatures, Bruce Kulick, but this was the current lineup at the time of this release. So they just slapped a new cover on it, threw it out there, hoping to drum up some more sales. Rightfully so, because I don't think the album got a fair shake in the first round. They remixed one song on Creatures for this release. Some people say they remixed the whole album. They did not. Others have said that they've remixed 3 songs, Creatures of the Night, I Love It Loud, and War Machine. Just Creatures of the Night. That's all that was remixed for this album. When you look through the box set, the only remix you're going to find is Creatures of the Night, because that's all that they remixed. The rest of the album is the same. Now, they may have enhanced EQ levels a little bit with the other stuff, but that's not a remix. That's just another master. So got somebody's ass on the back, don't know whose, don't care. All of these jackets down here by this polygram logo, and I might have a scan of it, there is a faint black 0501 here. Every jacket I've ever seen, I haven't seen any without it, and I haven't seen any with a different plant number. And then they've got the lyric inner sleeve. Now the logo and the title are white. And then this one is quite uncommon. I know what you're expecting me to pull out, but what I'm actually going to pull out of this one is a Filmworks label. Now this is not the same as I showed before with the Filmworks 2. Remember I told you to lock in on that NBLP 7270 number. Well, now if you look over to the right, there's a polygram number, that 422824154. So this is a very, very rare version of this album. So if you have a copy like this, then kudos to you. If you don't have a copy like this and you're watching this show, you're probably looking for one. And if you didn't know this existed, here it is. But it's a very, very hard one to come across. I know of 5 or 6 people that have one. I'm not saying that's how many exist, but that's just how many I know of personally. So then we go on to the next one. We've got the same jacket, same inner sleeve, and now the vinyl is going to look a little more familiar to most of you, because now we have it on a Mercury label. And if you look off to the left, right before it says manufactured, you see a number 53. So there's your pressing plant variation. And I'll point out too that that Filmworks label had a 53 on it also. It's exactly this layout, it just on a Filmworks label. And some have thrown the idea around that maybe it was an accidental thing, maybe they accidentally printed it on the Filmworks label. But I don't think it was accidental, because here on the Mercury label the text is silver and the Filmworks label is black. So if it was an accidental thing on the Filmworks label, I think the text would be silver. Alright, we got another variation of this non-makeup cover. It's got the same jacket and the same inner sleeve. When I hold the record up, notice over to the left under where it says stereo side 1 8241541, it's got a number 70. So there's a second plant number variation, pressing plant number. And I'll point out too, on this non-makeup reissue, they flipped Saint and Sinner and Killer around. So that's another little thing that they did with the audio portion of the album. All right, we have another variation of this non-makeup cover. Here's the label, and if you look over to the left under where it says side 1 and stereo, you see a number 72. So there's a third pressing plant variation there. And for some reason, this non-makeup version of the album in general, not just the Filmworks label, but, you know, even these Mercury label variations, they command a decent price nowadays. Alright, so now that was all the polygram reissues that I'm aware of. And now in the early mid 90s, there was a company called H&H Marketing that had licensed a few titles to be reissued on vinyl. So they had taken care of the Revenge vinyl reissue, which technically was a first issue on vinyl, but it was a couple of years after the album was released, so it's kind of a reissue. Same with Alive 3. I'm not 100% sure if they did Kiss My Ass or not. I mean, it's kind of in that time frame, but they also did Creatures. And now the original idea for their reissue of Creatures, and just a few prototypes exist of this, and luckily enough, I have a friend named Neil Gitto who was able to provide me with some pictures and some information about the album, which I will show here. So you notice it's the picture disc that we all know and love, but you notice that the eyes are cut out and there's some weird color showing underneath. So that is the original intent, was to press the picture disc slicks on top of glow-in-the-dark vinyl with the eyes cut out, so if you had it on your turntable and you turn the lights off, you could see 4 sets of eyes glowing. From what I understand, the album is pressed on, or the Creatures music is pressed onto this album, because that was one question that I did ask him. And from what I understand, the tooling that they would have needed to make to produce these in mass would have just been, it wouldn't have been cost effective. You know, prototypes are one thing. You can kind of just cut the eyes out by hand and you're just making a couple of them. But, you know, if you're going to go ahead and make 3,000 or 4,000, you ain't going to do all of those by hand. So you're going to make a machine that stamps those out, and I guess it was just going to cost too much to do it. So they opted to go with a glow-in-the-dark release and a separate picture disc release instead. So my hat's off, well, hat's off literally right now, but my hat's off to Neil Gitto for giving me the pictures and telling me a little bit about the album, you know, a couple questions that I had. And I think the most important question that I asked him in my mind was how to pronounce his last name right, because, you know, I've said before, I have a phobia about pronouncing people's last names wrong. So that was among the questions that I asked him. But and then I know of another picture disc. I mean, whether it's official or not, I'm not convinced that it is, but, you know, we've all seen that Loudest Band in the World poster, you know, and that's on the picture disc. And it's rumored that it doesn't even have Kiss music pressed onto the disc. So I don't know how I feel about that. I don't really... when I think of all the different U.S. Creatures variations, that one never enters into my mind. It just happened to pop in here today. So, now that we're into the H&H stuff, we'll talk about the H&H reissues. So first up is the glow-in-the-dark vinyl. both of these jackets are have a gatefold with that lyric inner sleeve. The picture disc and the glow in the dark both have the 85 remix and then the track listing as well, right? Well, this one says that Saint and Sinner is the second song, which on the 85 mix, Saint and Sinner is the next to last song. So I think the track list plays the 85 track list. I think Killer's the second song. It's been forever since I listened to these. So the glow in the dark comes with just a plain white inner sleeve, because the original inner sleeve is printed inside the gatefold. And then the vinyl, you know, I'm lit up in my room here, so it looks kind of mundane, but if you put this on the turntable after having it out in the light for a minute, it will glow, and I'll try to get a picture to fly in here later on. So we have a second custom label for Creatures of the Night. Just a plain Jane label, no track listing or nothing, but it's not a company label like Filmworks or something like that. It's specific to this release. And the catalog number is the Polygram catalog number at 422-824-154. And I bring that up because the back of this jacket also has that same catalog number. And if I can get it to show, the spine also has that same catalog number. I'll probably have to hide my face somehow. There we go. The picture disc has a different catalog number. And there is a different jacket with that catalog number to boot. These were pressed at the same time, and they didn't always land in the correct jacket. So you could easily have a picture disc in this jacket and the glow in the dark in the other jacket. I mean, yeah, they didn't always land in the right jacket. So I'll show you what I'm talking about with my picture disc here. So you can see that barcode says 314528674, and same with the spine. I have a hard time getting these spines to show up. And then I'll do both of them together just to show them side by side, because I don't think I did scans of the spines. I didn't think to. So there's your two different spines right there. Picture disc was on top, and or no, glow in the dark was on top and picture disc was on the bottom. Both still have the 85 remix. So I was lucky enough to find each one in the right jacket. I'm not worried about trying to find one in mix match jackets. Same plain inner sleeve there. And now the disc. See, has it? The whole image, the eyes aren't cut out. There's the back of it. And you want to talk about just absolute crappy timing. You know, H&H started this in like 94, 95. And they actually went bankrupt. And the year before the reunion tour started. If they would have been just a year or two later, they probably would have, you know, there probably would have been a demand to reissue damn near the entire back catalog. And, I mean, we may have still been talking about H&H today, but in a, you know, a different light. So it's just down to bad timing on their part, unfortunately. So now we get to the KISSTERIA reissues. And as I said with Killers, some titles were exclusive to the set, some titles were not. Creatures was not exclusive. You can get it in the stores, in the set, wherever. So they brought the makeup cover back. They brought the inner sleeve back with the blue text, and this one's on matte paper. They did not bring the 82 mixed back. They did flip-flop the track listing back. You know, Saint and Sinner is the second song again on the vinyl. It's still got the remixed version of Creatures. So, an unfortunate oversight. And then we've got the custom Creatures label again. And I'm going to point out that, you know, all of the text below the spindle hole is silver. So, wink wink. That means a variation is coming. And, you know, I also pointed out that the inner sleeve was a matte paper. That's kind of another wink wink. So for a while, for several years actually, I was doing record shows. So I would keep tabs on sites like Sound of Vinyl, Acoustic Sounds, and all of that for releases that I would buy and then sell in the shows. And I've noticed, you know, over time, some of these 2014 reissues were out of print for a minute, and then they would go back in. And sometimes when they would come back in, I would buy a few copies to sell at the shows. And that happened with Creatures. I bought a couple of copies. And I always open one just to make sure that nothing changed. You know, that's just something I've always done. And when I opened this one, and I bought this in, it was like 2017 or 2018, I think. So now the inner sleeve is on a glossy paper instead of the matte paper that I showed with my KISSTERIA copy. And then the label, you know, it looks the same, but that's gray text now instead of silver. So I mean, it's splitting hairs, but it's still a variant. So I kept one back for myself and sold the others in the record show. So we had a variation of the 2014, which, I mean, there's a few titles that had some variations over over the years, but. And then a buddy of mine tipped me off to another variation of the 2014, and it took me a little bit, but I got a hold of one. So with these, the jackets are all the same. That never changed. The inner sleeve, you could have a matte paper or a glossy paper like this one and the last one that I showed. And then when you look at the label, it's the same Custom Creatures label, but the text is red, like a rusty red color. So there's a third variation for the 2014. And I want to say it was like 2020 or 21 maybe when I found this one. So Universal, I'd appreciate it if you just kind of make everything the same now instead of making variations of 2014s, because I'm kind of getting tired of chasing them down myself. Because everybody keeps them sealed, so you don't know what it is unless it's open. So, like, there's no way possible to know if a sealed 2014 copy of Creatures has which label it has or which inner sleeve. So, I mean, it's kind of hard to collect stuff if you can't see it. Alright, and then we skip ahead to 2022, the 40th anniversary for Creatures. There was a couple of different releases. We obviously got the huge Super Deluxe box set, which was available on Kiss Online and Amazon, and it was available in stores. And, you know, Kiss Online had it for $300. Amazon had it for like $170 on pre-order, you know. So most people bought from Amazon. I told Kiss Online about it. I was like, hey, can you match them? They said, no, we can't. All right. So pre-ordered on Amazon. So there was the Super Deluxe box set, which we'll look at a little bit here. And then there was two different vinyl issues. You had a single LP that was a half-speed master. And then you had a 3 LP set, which was just kind of like highlights from the box set. So first up, we'll look at the half-speed master. So this was available in stores and on Kiss Online. It says clearly down there, half-speed remaster. The jacket is what they call a tip-on jacket. So you can kind of see up in this corner here that, you know, this whole back cover is an image. So it starts out with a cardboard jacket. They paste this on over top of it, and it overlaps around back. And then they paste this back image on top of the overlaps like that. This was a real common jacket style back in like the 1950s and 60s. And now it's kind of considered a premium. So they gave us a printed inner sleeve, and it is different from the 2014. And also the 82 mix is now back. So this is the 82 mix. And then we get another Creatures label, Creatures custom label, and notice off to the right hand side it says half speed mastering, so that separates it from the 2014. And I think this is a very well made record. This has been the listening copy for the last couple of years for me. I've thoroughly enjoyed this half-speed remaster. And then, so the Super Deluxe box set and the half-speed remaster, I know for sure that you could buy in stores. I'm not sure that you could have bought the 3 LP set in stores. I'm thinking that was a Kiss Online thing. So some stores had a point of sale item that you can get when you bought either the box set or the half-speed remaster. And that was this Creature slip mat here. And now the eyes do look green like they glow in the dark. They do not glow. It's just a printing. So none of the stores near me had any of the extra slip mats. So I missed out on that initially. I did end up going to eBay and getting a slip mat to put with my copy because I wanted one. Destroyer also had a slip mat, and then you might be able to see over this shoulder here, that little lithograph right there. That also was a point of sale item. They didn't have nothing like that with Creatures. It was just a slip mat. And I got one of these for my half-speed vinyl, and then I also put one inside my my box set. And now we'll tackle this big beast. And you know, we was talking about the announcement of the vinyl box set coming. You know, this was all we needed. I mean, there really was no need to have that whole box set in vinyl form. I mean, this is highlights. To me, it covers what it needs to cover. There's really no need for 9 records in that box set. So, but this one also has a badge down there, 40th anniversary 3LP deluxe edition. And I forgot to point out on the half speed, both of these jackets, the eyes glow in the dark. It's a special kind of paint that they actually, I think they actually went through and put it on by hand right there. So the eyes glow in the dark. This is what I call a tri-fold. It folds out in 3 panels because it's a 3LP set. And then there's that third panel there. So you got your front cover and your back cover, and then your third panel. And then you open it out for the wide shots. It came with a booklet, which the front and the back of it look like a case to like a master tape. And I ain't gonna worry about showing everything in here. Leave some to the imagination. Some of you that are sitting on sealed copies, if you want to see it bad enough, you can open one of the sealed copies. So, lyric inner sleeve again, and this one differs from the half-speed master even. So this one is specific to the 3LP set. And then the vinyl. We get another custom Creatures label. And then most importantly, it's on a translucent-ish blue vinyl. So, and then like LP2 and LP3, that label looks like the like a reel-to-reel tape. I don't want to pull it out because these things are kind of a pain in the ass to get back in. Which, actually, since that's the last one, I'll get that all set back up off camera. So that's all the US versions of the album that I know of. And I know we're running a little bit long here, but we don't have far to go, trust me. So now we're going to talk about 45s. In the U.S., there's one single release from Creatures. That was I Love It Loud, Backed with Danger. Other countries had other single releases. Some had 12-inch singles, some had 45s, some had picture discs. We had none of that. We had 45s for I Love It Loud, and that was it. So we'll start off with the promo copy for I Love It Loud. And the promo copy has a short version and a long version. So you know the song, it fades out, it comes back in and fades back out. Well, the short version, it fades out and that's it. So there's your short version side. If you notice on the left, it says promotional copy, not for sale, short version. And then it gives the time and all that. And then at the bottom of that, you see a number 26. So now, the long version side, it says promotional copy, not for sale, long version, the time and all that stuff. And at the bottom, it says 26. There's your promotional copy for I Love It Loud. The promotional copy is the only release in the U.S. that has that short version. And before somebody pipes up and says, well, Smashes, Thrashes, and Hits has a short version, that's not Eric Carr's drums. That's a drum machine. Different mix. That doesn't count. And now, get into stock copies. We have our second picture sleeve of the U.S., which is kind of a point of contention to me, is visual of a band they were. By this point, almost 10 years into their career, they had two picture sleeves in the U.S. So you might have noticed that my promo I didn't have in a picture sleeve, because I'm not convinced that promos would have been in a picture sleeve. That's just my own thought. But so with that, you can see we're on a Filmworks label. If you look over to the left, you'll see a number 19. So there's your pressing plant. There's the I Love It Loud side. And there's the Danger side, also with that 19 on the left. Now we got another stock copy, also with the picture sleeve. This time, when you look at the Filmworks label, look off to the left-hand side, underneath where it's got the time and everything, you see a number 26. So there's I Love It Loud. And then there's Danger, also with the 26. So there's just another pressing plant for the 45. And these stock copies all have just the long version. As I said before, the promo is the only place you can find the short version. So we have a third variation of the retail copy. So here's the I Love It Loud side. If you look off to the left underneath the time, you'll see a number 72. And then there's the danger side. Same off to the left, you see that number 72. And me personally, I think that should have been the front of the picture sleeve. I mean, we had this with the album already. Why couldn't we have that? But, it is what it is, I guess. And talking about end of an era earlier. So, I mentioned in all these episodes leading up to this one about the singles box set. You know, it was released in 2012, and it had reissued all of the singles from the debut up to Creatures of the Night. So this will be the last episode I talk about a reissue single. And that reissue has a picture sleeve that was reproduced from the US sleeve. And it is reissued on the Filmworks label. So there's I Love It Loud. And there's Danger. So we've showed everything out of the singles box set. We've showed all of the Filmworks 2 reissues. We've showed all the Filmworks 3 reissues. So there's 3 things that end here. And for a while, the original makeup era ends after this. So Creatures was kind of a bookend to a lot of things that, you know, we may or may not have realized at the time. But I was going to show a little bit out of the box set. Honestly, you can Google it. I mean, we're running a little long here, and I don't want to keep you too much longer. Plus the box set CDs, and I already went on my rant about their recent announcement, so I don't want to get into another rant again. So I do thank you for hanging in with me this long. I know this episode was a bit longer than normal, but I appreciate you watching, and I'll catch you on the next one.